こんにちは、はじめまして。ミラー・チェルシーと申します。サンゴアロ高校の日本語の教師です。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Chelsea Miller, and I am the Japanese teacher at Saguaro High School. Welcome to Japanese and Virtual Curriculum Night. I'm going to share my screen and some information about this class with you. So once again, Nihongo e yokoso. Welcome to Japanese. Again, my name is Chelsea Miller. This is my email address, cmiller@susb.org. I teach Japanese classes 1 through 4 at Saguaro High School. I also teach Japanese 1 at Mojave Middle School, as well as a couple of classes with Scottsdale Online. So my office hours are slightly different than the regular Saguaro student hours because I do teach Japanese for Mojave Middle School in the afternoon during the first half of the Saguaro student hours. So my personal office hours, if students need help outside of class, are from 1:30 to 3 o'clock every weekday. Students can contact me through Microsoft Teams. Each student should have access to a whole class team because these are combined level classes, as well as a team separate to their individual level. Right. For my class, there are just a couple of required materials. I would like every student to have a personal or mini dry erase whiteboard, something small enough that they can use in their hands and show to the camera for practicing with writing, vocabulary, and all sorts of practice during class. I do also recommend that students get a notebook and pencils, of course, for taking notes during lessons. And if students are interested in creating their own flashcards, index cards are a great way to do that. Right, so in Japanese class, we will practice 3 modes of communication. It is interpretive, that is one-way receptive communication, so building listening skills, reading skills, being able to hear something in Japanese or read it and interpret the meaning. Students are also going to be practicing interpersonal communication, that is person to person, it is spontaneous, it is being able to answer a question when asked, it is being able to hold a conversation. Students will also learn presentational skills in Japanese. So they will acquire the skills to be able to draft a composition and then produce it in a sort of presentation as doing mini speeches or a project presentation. These are our curriculum topics by level. Again, at Saguaro we have Japanese 1 through 4 this year. Each level builds upon the skills learned previously. So level 1, students are going to build the foundation of Japanese, where they are going to learn how to do such things as introduce themselves, talk about their families, talk about their school life, and some basic topics related to talking about their day. And the complexity of what students are able to talk about is going to build with each level in Japanese. With proficiency as the goal. So in Japanese 1, again, as I said, it's an introduction to all of the parts that make up the Japanese language. So students are going to learn reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills in Japanese, and throughout the year are going to develop the skills necessary to communicate in basic terms. So by the end of the year, even in Japanese 1, students should be able to hold a basic conversation or respond in basic terms to a question that they are asked. Additionally, students are going to be introduced to various topics related to the customs, culture, and geography of Japan. In Japanese 2, 3, and 4, students are going to extend their learning and build upon the skills they learned previously. With the goal of proficiency in mind. So students being able to achieve proficiency and skill in Japanese. One of our focuses is high frequency words, so some of the most commonly used words and terms in the language so that students can essentially be able to use Japanese in daily life. And most of these classes will be spent in Japanese. And then STAMP test, I will talk about in just a moment. So the goal of learning a foreign language is to acquire proficiency in that language, being able to communicate their ideas, not necessarily perfectly, but enough to get their idea across and to understand what others are saying to them. Japanese, all Japanese 4 students and Japanese 3 graduating seniors who are interested will have the opportunity to take the STAMP test in the spring. The STAMP test is a national foreign language exam that measures students' skills in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Students who receive a qualifying score in all 4 of those areas will receive what is called the seal of biliteracy on their high school diploma that shows that they are proficient in Japanese. As of last year, we had a few students take it, and 4 of Scottsdale Unified's Japanese students qualified for the seal of biliteracy. It was a mix of Japanese 4 and Japanese 3 students. So these are our core practices in Japanese class. The goal is to, one of our main goals is to have students acquire the ability to use Japanese naturally. So we are, as teacher and students are going to be using quite a bit of Japanese in the classroom. The goal is 90% in Japanese at whatever level students are able to do. We also pride ourselves on the use of authentic resources as a learning tool. Authentic resources are items created in Japanese for native Japanese speakers that we are then using as learning tools for our students of Japanese. Students will have a variety of interpersonal communication tasks, meaning we are going to be doing quite a lot of speaking practice so that students build the natural ability to answer and use Japanese in conversation. So we plan with the goal in mind, and grammar is a concept to be used in context. We don't teach grammar as our goal is not to have perfect Japanese, but to be able to use Japanese fluidly in conversation. So even if grammar is not perfect, as long as students can communicate meaning, that is more important to us. Grammar is, of course, taught, but in concept and as a tool to be used in context in Japanese. And then feedback as immediately as possible. We do have a new textbook that we adopted at the end of last year. We are not using it during ELD because we only have class sets of it. So our goal, our hope is that we can use it once we return to being in the classroom. So until then, we are continuing as we have had in past years, where we are, the foundation of our classes is built on the use of authentic resources. So I hope this is a great year for everybody. I'm very excited to be teaching everyone Japanese. So thank you. Arigatou gozaimashita. If you need to email me with any questions or concerns, always feel free. See Miller@susd.org. 今年もよろしくお願いいたします。